I'm back from Munich. It's gone about 24 hours, that was all. Where was I? They do have wonderful public transport in Germany, I will say. I missed that. Now, I'm reliably informed that this particular locomotive was either 2005 or 2007. I tend to think 2007, so quite a significant number of years old. And I never thought I'd be saying 2007 was a significant number of years. Since I now have a full set of greases and graphites and who knows what, it all came in the end, a replacement. I should really put this thing back together and see if we can't just get it done. Now, I'm not sure which way up this thing goes. I'm guessing by the marks the other way up. Can you see how ridiculous it would be to get at that in any way at all? And then here, you see how, do you see how I've had to carve out a connection there for that motor terminal there? Let's have a look, see if I'm going to be able to solder onto those or whether I need to do that before everything goes back together. I should probably put a couple of wires on those before they go back. Yeah, that's going to get awkward otherwise. But you can't get at that gear. You see it in there? You can't get at that gear whatsoever. It is much more free turning than it was. I guess because of all the caked on greases gone. But look how difficult that is to get at. Anyway, we'll do all of that whilst it's in bits, and I'll put a couple of wires on the end of that motor now. One of the frustrating aspects to this particular model is you just can't get at anything, even though it's built like a brick outhouse. Trying to keep all this in shot so you can see what I'm up to. These wires almost redundant because the you see how short I've kept the wires, and no spikes there please, because the chip wires would probably reach this quite happily, but it's just moving it over so you can see what I'm doing. It's just that I want to be able to put this together without reaching through the hole. Nice joint there. Tug, tug, tug. And you see how much space there isn't. You see that between, I could put a piece of heat shrink over it, but those joints are plenty good enough and far enough away that they're not going to touch, but there is no leeway whatsoever there. Yeah, that'll be fine. I will just put a daub of oil. It's funny, I'm going for I've got all these lovely new oils, but I'm using my favorite oil dispenser. Just little daub on the back bearing there. One, and we'll do the front bearing as well. And get in there, one drip, nothing more. Now, what kind of a grease should I use for this gear? There's a sheet somewhere. Let me have a read of its specification in the back of this. I'll be back. They are recommending moly grease on there. White grease being more suitable for places that are going to get wet. And I have to cut the end off, look. That's what cutters are for, isn't it? Did I do it right? Let's have a look, see what it looks like. I bet it's black and goopy or something. Never used it. Bloop. Come on, you got to come out of there. And on this, oh, it's going everywhere, Ian. Oh, it's like the Heinz song, isn't it? Shake and shake and shake the bottle, none'll come and then a lot'll. Yeah, that went everywhere. He says, it is slippery. Don't really need it where it is. Look at me. Don't need it on chassis parts. It says it's non-conductive, which is a good thing in this particular environment. And then we'll put some on the other side over here where it's going to touch. I'm expecting that that's how whatever grease they did put in here originally, remember it was all around here, gone all sticky. It was more like glue than lubricant. There's probably enough on there. Now where's my gear gone? Over here. Come on. And we said that way up. I'm not putting it all the way around the edge. It's going to get there anyway. Now, before we go any further, let's check on the tightness of these contacts. I have a feeling if I put a bend in the end of that, that looks like a nut there, you know. But if I put a bend in the metal, it will stay in place. Right. It looks like a nut, but nothing's turning there. So what I've done is moved it over I can hardly move it now. Moved it over the hole, put a bend on the corner, so when you push it back, there's some tension on that point, which will make a point contact in there. There was a little bit of corrosion under it too, so probably that should come off, but I've no way of getting it off sensibly, and there's no indication on the inside that it has actually threaded. So yes, I don't know. We'll see. Now a quick comment on the thickness of these wires. There's absolutely no need for them to be thick. This is thick insulation, it's silicone, so it's very flexible. That's the only reason I've used that. But if you look at the wires that are going to the chip, they're tiny. It's only if you're using thin wires over long distances you're ever going to have any trouble, because of the volt drop that would cause. Let's get that screw in there first, because that's the one that meant bending this thing around. And for those who know this locomotive and were shrieking in horror that I hadn't put the ball bearing back in, don't worry, I'm on it. Just hadn't finished cleaning it up. And it was stuck. You know how they stick in the top there? And they need a little bit of encouragement and oil. So that's now much better. The spring is still good. Essentially this half of the chassis is one rail and this is the other, and there is remarkably little keeping the two apart. There's this thin little piece of plastic casing running around the motor, saying there if you get a crack in that, or you break it, or it gets brittle. The same with the motor brush contacts. They're usually folded back so that they actually do make contact. I've straightened them out and cut a piece of the metal away there so that we can use DCC. And that ball bearing thing goes in there. I will put another dollop of grease on there before we finish, but you can over grease these, of course. Same with anything. So now just 3 screws and then we've got to start gluing things in place. I'm leaving the lube of the bearings, what's left of them, not much, till last. There's nothing of this one left. You can see right through it. More on the middle ones than I would have expected. But yeah, we'll be all right. You can over tighten these because these screws are just going into nylon bushes, and nylon or plastic bushes simply don't like being reefed on. So you just have to turn until you feel a bit of resistance. And you just get to know there is the end. This is the one in there between the slides. What a stupid place to put a screw. I mean, genuinely. I suppose their only justification would be this is never going to get taken apart, is it? Well, yeah, of course it is. If you're going to have to fix your nonsense bearings. Let's dig some of this old glue out of here. If you look at that little mess there, you would think, this is never going to run again. You might still be right. But if you don't try, does it go this way up or that way up? I think this way, but we'll soon see. Because of the oiling point on the con rod there. Everything seems a little catawampus. Well, little, it's just, yes. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. I thought it was the back one that had broken. So that would mean it was that way up. So that's another clue, but then that's the wrong way up. Unless it's that way over. Aha, you see? Process of deduction. Rear axle is the one that broke, so that's the back wheels. I still believe this is the top. So it must be this way up. Everything's on right now, so I'm a little reluctant to start hoiking things around. Well, this side is much more difficult because this piece is in the wrong place and I do not want to have to take it all to pieces. But I don't think we have a choice. Well, everything looks about as right as I can make it for right now. And so what we need to do now is drop the base keeper plate on. Does it go that way? Or that way? I don't know. Let's look at the cab. So this is the back, and there are two holes. So I have a feeling those two holes line up with that. So this goes that way round. There we go, snapped on. There are two screws that go in there too. Just pop those in. That'll be these two countersunk screws. I haven't lubed up the valve gear yet. We'll do all of that when we get to that point. Right. Well, shall we see what happens if we put a battery on those leads? That, though, is not in the right place, so something has slipped out. It's probably something bent. Yeah. All right, let's get that back in its right slot. This is going to be much more difficult now that everything's back together. There we go. He says, sliding it right in there. I have a feeling these, remember I said where we had to put the screw in there, it was awkward. I don't think that went in properly. It's a bit sloppy. And I can see it's quite close to that wheel, so I'm just moving it down. Is it going to clear this rod? So this rod here will hit that, unless that is there. But if it's, there's very little space between this one and that one. So we've got to bend this down that way a bit. It's at the maximum point there and there. I think if I twist, oh my goodness. Fag paper distance between the two. So we're going to split the difference on that. I can't move this one, so we're going to, I know I'm in close and you may not see it always, but they are now parallel at least. All right, let's see what that does. A little bit of a wobble on that front axle. But other than that, we're in good shape. Let's try that. Well, there we go. Something not right this side here. What is going on? Remember the issue I had with the clip this side? It's spinning in the clip, so I would need to tighten that clip up. Let's just have a quick look. That's it. So the issue, you remember I had a clip missing. I made, can you see that? I'm all zoomed in as far as I can go. I made that there, but if it's not in the right place, when this is as far forward as it would go, where should this be is the question. It doesn't want to get close to the end there, so that is as far as it needs to be. It's moving, so I've a mind to actually just put a dab of glue on that. Well, I'm going to put this second screw in first. This will hold the rear wheels on. I know if I let go with my left hand, what's going to end up happening is that spring is going to fire off and end up in the dog's ear or something. Sparky is fast asleep at my feet. Awkward, Ian, awkward. Huh, what a strange design. All right, well, let's pop this screw in there. I should just roll the video back and have a look, shouldn't I? I might do that in a minute, just to make sure I got it right. Well, it doesn't look too terrible. Now I've got to get a couple of wires through. Well, where do they go then? You are kidding me. I'm not taking it apart, but the wires go down through the middle there. All right, let's get make some wires up and we'll get on with it. So now what I'm trying to do here is shove a bent wire. Look at that, first time. So all the way through, up between the chassis and over the top. I'm sure it came out the front, but hello Shadow, you've come to see me. Or have you come to disturb Sparky? Well, there's Sparky fast asleep and here's Shadow coming to investigate. What do you want, girl? It's your chin chucked. You do. You okay? It's nice to see you both. But I'm trying to get a train fixed. And you want petting, I know. Yeah, well, I'll soon be finished, I hope. Then we can go for a walk. You heard the magic word, didn't you? Yeah, I know. I know. Won't be long. So what I'm going to do now is solder the ends of these wires onto those tabs and then cut the middle and join them onto there. Now how will I know which one is which? Meter. I have a meter. So I will measure it. But you could have used a different colour. Yes, then I'd have had to cut two wires. Meters aren't hard to use. If you hear clicking, it's just Shadow mooching around under my feet. All right, a little bit of solder on these wires. There's one. Let's get that out of the way. It's solid core wire. People say, well, why wouldn't you use stranded? It'd be more flexible. Well, over the distance that these things will move, it'll be just fine. Now we pull those through. Getting a little bit of snack. Well, now I know that this one's that side. You see that? I'm moving it. It's funny. How do you know which one's which? You just do. So the short one then goes on this side. I'm going to come around the side here like that. Everything seemed very tight, which is why I was half expecting to find magic rot. It wasn't and isn't. If I keep telling myself it isn't, we'll be fine. I don't think it is. There. Now, the other thing we need now, 2 more bits of wire to reach the chip. Well, that's the chip, and this is the harness that comes with it. So there's a 8-pin plug. We don't have an 8-pin socket, so all we're doing is cutting these wires off and tucking that chip somewhere in the front, in the cab there. It'll fit somewhere there. It's significantly bigger than the old one. So we're going to make sure the cab really does fit. There's the seat for the driver too. Must fit him. I may regret using these thicker wires, you know. Can I change them easily? Well, now those wires are in the way. I'm going to find the driver and glue him on his perch in a minute. Remind me if I forget, won't you? So the first thing we're going to do is chop these wires off. Just snip, 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 like that. There they go. So we've now got a plug, which we'll make into a blanking plate should we ever need yet another one. And then these wires, so the ones we need are just, I'm not putting lights in this thing, there's just 4 of them. I don't need the green one, I've snipped it off. I don't need the blue, the white, the yellow, or the purple. I just need the black and red, which go to the track. So if you think DC, if that's all I had. And then the grey and orange go to the motor. There we go, the driver. And I've got just the job for him. I could put a bit of black tack under his bottom, couldn't I? Got some here. There we go, sit him on his seat. I have some sticky wax. What do you call that stuff? You call it sticky wax, Ian? I don't know. How's that? Looks like he's... know what he's touching there. Oh, conveniently his hand on the regulator. There we go. Nice new bit, or thinner bit. I don't like that bit typically, but it will reach into the hole we're trying to reach into. So I've taken this off and we'll put a piece of blue wire in there instead, which is much thinner, and it will lay in the crack. You see? Can you see that? And that will mean the cab will sit down properly. That wire's a little long. I know you want to see me try and do this, so here we go then. If I was smart, I'd put a piece of heat shrink on this too. Did I get it? I think I did. Let's look at the handiwork there. Yeah, it's all right. Alrighty. Bit of heat shrink over... There is a piece of heat shrink on there, but it's gone the wrong end. It's probably enough to do both of them, actually. And then this goes over the orange. Orange being motor. I should leave that for a minute. If it goes backwards, I'm kind of like to turn the wires around this time instead of always having to program it. If this works the way it should, I shouldn't have to do that. Just changing my tip back to the favourite one. Now, I don't need a sharp point on there anymore. I'd be interested to see how the resistance changed as the wheels went round. I'm sure they do. That's one side. I've left a little bit of slack in that one in case I do need to pull it through. There's a bit of plastic here. You see it around the motor, and I'm going to cheat and use a bit of glue to hold them there. Haha. And having dumped glue there and there and waiting for it to dry, it's a good opportunity to nip off for a cup of tea. I'll see you in a few minutes. Well, that was a nice cup of tea. Just going to put that blue wire on here. Should probably tin it before I do. Just tuck that on there. Now we'll tuck that down the crack make a little upward loop so that it doesn't join the wires together, and then tuck it down the crack. Not very long. I probably could have made that a bit longer. Now all I'm doing here now is joining the grey one to that blue one, this black one to the black one, and the red one to the red one, and we'll be done. Before we go any further, just checking the black wire from that side comes up to the black wire. That would be right. Grey one then goes to one side of the motor. The other black would be the red. It is going to the orange to the motor. Yes, everything's right. So we'll just cover it all up and away we go. Doesn't look too bad. The wires here are good. Front's good, front's good. I'm just going to tuck that one down a bit. Wheels go round. The chip is a little bit big for this loco, but I'm going to see what I can do. Yeah, it's about 1/8 of an inch too long. And I've just knocked the driver off his seat and the screws out of the... I've got a washer left over. We're making a mess. Everything's getting knocked over here. Let's find the driver. Where did he go? Anybody see him? Here he is. He's gone all the way over there. All right. Let's try again. So it's kind of hard to show you, but in there is a shelf under the coal bunker. I guess it's a stiffening part. This part here comes down too close to there to have the driver sitting there and the chip sitting there. So we're going to put the chip there, but we've got to get the front in first, and the front is bigger than I remember it being. There we go. But now we've got a chip sticking up in the cab. So if I can push that down a bit and try and tuck the wires in a bit. There we go. And now we'll put the driver in through the window. Nope. Let's get the thing running and then we'll worry about putting the driver in through the window. There we go. Rather a mess in the window there. Can I straighten that down a bit? Yeah, it will. It just can't until the cab's on. That's frustrating. Driver might actually help. He's on the wrong side. I know. I don't want to go in there. You're going in there. Get in there. I don't want to. Now you're stuck. Stop making a fuss. You don't need that on your bum, do you? Because there's no seat this side. I know he's supposed to be the other side. You'll see what I'm up to in a minute. This way, instead of holding on to the regulator, he's hanging on for dear life. Let's push that red wire down. It is the driver, it's not the fireman. He's concerned about the running gear. Well, he's hanging out the window. There you go. Let's put it on the track and see what we've got. Oh, no, before we do that, a little bit of gear oil. Oops, way too much, way too much. We'll mop it off in a minute. Turn it over. Right, and we'll mop that up in a minute. But the first thing is, let's see, does it work? Doesn't feel right. What's moving? On the track with you. Let's look. Well, since it's moving already, something's right. Neither the front nor the back wheels are turning properly. Well, as you can see, I've had to take the body off again. I don't have a rolling road, but let me show you. It is running. But right here, do you see it? Now, before it hurts itself, let me show you. Now then, the problem is simply this part here is not glued. I thought I'd done both sides. It may have come unglued. So I'm going to remove this part of the linkage. Does it? Yes, it pops right out there, you see? You see that? So this is going to need cleaning up, and some glue popped in that hole. And I will need to let that set overnight. The issue of the front and rear wheels not turning, it's not lubrication. I'm not going to start adding oil as a trick. It's, I think I've glued up the split chassis, and there's probably a bit of gunk got in one of the hoops or something. Of course, now I can't take the wheels out to find out. May have to. But we're well on the way. We've got it running. Oh, you doubters. Well, I'm going to call it quits there. It's getting late. We got it running. We saw it move. That's enough. All the carriage lights just came on. Look at that. Lovely. So something's working. So we are well on the way to getting this lovely little beast working again. It needs a proper run. It needs the glue to set, and I will do something about that front and back truck. That's not going to happen tonight. Thanks for watching. I know this has been a process, but it is an old lady, this locomotive, isn't it? The driver fell out, by the way, in the way he is. He must be on the track somewhere. Let's look just before we go. He's somewhere up here. Yep, there he is, poor guy. Saying, take me now! Come on, it's not that bad. You'll be fine. We'll get your locomotive running again next time. Well, providing I don't get a call and being told, off you go flying again, we should be just fine. I'll get this thing running in the morning, and I'll show you before we move on to another video. There's more to come. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye now.